You? I
Okay.
was missing it. I was trying to do it a different way, and I didn't know about the more.
Okay, now do you
I
have
was
all right, so now do you have the YouTube
we're
live
live.
on a different tab? So whatever you have that on, now we have to share it to our social media. You know what I mean? And that way it's on standby.
We're
And
live.
yeah, yeah, but don't you want to share the link with me so I can put it on social media? Or do you want to share it on your social media live so it, goes out there? You know what I mean? Yeah, no? Okay. We can do this later then.
There's a delay, and I'm hearing you twice. You got to give me a second. I'm trying to figure it out.
So then you have to close the YouTube.
I have to close YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that. I don't want to do that.
Not close it. I mean,
I
you
don't.
have to close the tab. For example, the thing is, if you shared the link with me with it live, I can confirm to you that it's live, live. Whereas if you're doing it over there, you're gonna have the echo effect. The reason you're
Oh, that's
doing,
why they have somebody else read it. Got it.
yeah, man, you got to go to the Zoom course that's free on YouTube or whatever, because
I'm working on it. Give me a second. I'm gonna just go in the chats. What did I just do? So I need a moderator to do this.
Okay, studio. Okay, you got the studio YouTube. Let me see something here. I don't, okay, now you're doing the wrong thing. Okay, so now go to open up a new tab. Go to your YouTube like you're watching YouTube, right? Find your channel. You know what I mean? And send me that link because you're sending me the administrative link. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'm here. Give me a second. Yes, I will have to watch the videos on how to do this. Okay. I just did that. Okay, send you this link is what you're saying?
Yeah, the link. Do you see it running? You see the us right there? Because right now, okay, go ahead. All right, 1 second. I should have it right here. Okay, there you go. 1 second.
I will be watching videos on this ASAP.
Okay, it says live. Let me click it. Okay, yeah, it's live. I see myself. Okay, there you go.
You'll see me when I'm talking, but there's a delay. I will be watching videos on this ASAP.
Yeah, yeah. So there we go. Yeah, you took a sip.
Okay, it says
Now,
live. Let me click it.
okay.
Like
Now,
a 5 second delay, right?
right now, the thing is, Leo, you're gonna have to. I never did. They haven't done this one. All right. So there's an option where it doesn't go back and forth, depending on what this is how I learned.
I wanted to go back and forth.
Oh, okay, because I thought you wanted side by side consistently like this.
Oh, no, that actually, how do you switch it? Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
when they do the panels, you see all the, Brady Bunch boxes.
Everybody
Right. So it's up to
pretty
you.
much about this. Yeah. No, let's do both. I might mix it up. I did see that. I don't remember what that option is. It's not in the break rooms. You know what? Let's just get started now. We're live now because that you don't have to be live to figure that out. I'll find that and I'll try and do it next time.
Okay.
This is fine for now. We got a lot to discuss, and time is definitely not on our side. Um, I got to stop with the ums. Caught myself this time. That's good. I got to catch myself prior to doing it. I'm working on monitoring my speech pattern to control some of the things that I've been making mistakes with before. Is the biggest one. You're polite enough not to say it, but to try to give me hints when I do it because you're a Gemini. All
We do like
right, so catch me with my speech patterns when I'm.
over the hum.
Anyway, all right. So welcome to the think tank. Welcome to our first live. Here we like to use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, pinch of common sense to use the. Wow, I'm messing up live. Not the bueno. All right, so we like to use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, just a little bit of common sense to find unbiased, logical conclusions. Today I have friend of the channel, best friend of the channel, be here all the time, discussing Donald Trump, the Honorable Dion Powell from the Bronx, New York. Honorable being he is an elected official. I thank him for coming to the channel. He discusses Trump from a MAGA perspective, which is an educated black man's MAGA perspective, which is something that you don't get all the time. You get to hear logical, educated perspective on Trump's statutes and what he's doing, rather than just hearing. Sometimes you hear a little bit of ignorance and people that don't want to be open-minded because they're so red that that's all they see is red, like bulls charging. And so here we like to give other perspectives, try and see past the red and blue lines, even though sometimes we are partisan. But the Honorable Dion Powell is a very educated man. He's been in politics for years and years. He's even run for big office. I gotta watch the us. I'm getting there. Y'all gonna walk me through this. Y'all gonna see me get better at this. But right now we're gonna talk about a few things. We got a lot to talk about. Dion, I apologize, but I'm gonna have to. We were supposed to do this like 3 days ago, so there's like 10 new things that we didn't get. A couple we have to discuss today because Trump likes to keep us busy. But let's talk about some of the stuff that we have lined up first. Let me pull it up. This is my first live. You got to forgive me. I even messed up my opening, which I never do. I guess I'm nervous in front of the camera.
That's right. You see, in politics, you can't be camera shy. You always got to be camera ready. So I'm District Leader Dion Powell. As I try to do the dance, I've done these kind of podcasts many a times. And my degree is from film, with the first film department in America at the City College, coming from a background from the first student government in America, the City College of New York. So shout out to them as well. Yes, so we're here to talk about the political nature of things. And as Leo said, I'm flattered by the introduction because I guess I am educated from the City College and Metropolitan College, master's degree, by the way, and all those wonderful things. There's a lot of ignorance out there. And however, since Trump started to win, not win yet, the Black culture, African American community, Great Black Wall sounds cracked, and our Great Black vote was fractured amongst our many factors like myself. So now people like myself, ADOS, Foundation of Black America, African Americans, or whatever you want to label us these days, we're in a little bit of a high demand because people don't hear our side of the story anymore. It's like we've been so drawn out by a section of our culture and race and ethnicity that it's like we hear the usual. Everything's racist, we use our faith as a crush or God is on our side. Come on, y'all. Where it's like we don't hear the perspective of pro Donald Trump or just generally pro family and against the mainstream of our culture that could be labeled toxic, the womanizing, the baby mothers, the mass incarceration, the bad behaviors that were within our control to somewhat change here in the United States of America, which we built. So we should have some sort of patriotic pride that keeps us focused. Like the Dominican community is very good at that. And I'll end there and turn it back to Leo. Hopefully that has, shaken his nerves.
I'm not that easily rattled, my friend.
No,
But check it out, right? Yo,
he's
let's
a
let's dive
veteran.
into some of this.
No, he's a veteran. So thank you for your service. He's bulletproof, but like a lot of things, there are actually the first greatest fear in life is death. Well, I'm sure he's over that. But the second greatest fear in life is public speaking.
I'm not afraid of public speaking. I talk to the public. You put me on a podium and I'm a holler, heard. So Anyway, check it. So I'm gonna dive right in to some of these topics. I, the first thing I have listed is USA, FEMA, BOE, Medicaid, SSI. Being that there's so much going on, I'm gonna skip that for now.
Oh, well, that's
I,
the easy one for me, but okay.
let's let's discuss the fact that Donald Trump's attacking the EU for suing American companies. Do you know anything about that?
No, let me check one time because I'm supposed to have notes about this. Looks like Dion has picked up, has a hiccup himself. Let me see. Where did Leo send it? Okay, so sometimes we Oh yeah, I had the other notes. Yeah, yours is less. Okay, good. So with that issue, the EU suing American companies, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now this is going to be a tit for tat, but not just the EU, but with Canada and other nations that Trump is using the power of the tariff. 1 second, I forgot for the audience, the usual blazing saddles. Excuse me while I whip this out. Dun, dun, dun. Now, this should break the ice for all the beautiful people that are black, white, and otherwise. All right.
Oh, you're
So,
wearing the Elon Musk version of the MAGA hat.
whoa,
Look at
whoa, whoa.
you.
This is not the Elon Musk version. So, just a side note, I used to be a volunteer driver for the Donald Trump motorcade. So every time he came to New York, me and the team had to go out with the big SUVs and most of the airport pick him up to Trump Tower. And some other dignitaries had to do. So anyway, one of the guys that is into like marketing, he created these hats a while ago, and he has it on his online store. Shout out to him. His name is Marty. He's like, Dion, here, man. I said, yo, Marty, he used to wear this hat. I said, yo, can I get one of those hats? And how can I buy one? Of course, being a white boy, I say, man, here's one for free. Here's my online store. Blah, blah, blah. He mailed it to us. Oh, beautiful guy. So I started rocking this because in the hood and beyond, the red hats sometimes are eyesore, even though people don't care and they wear the red hats in the hood, blah blah. When I wear this one, nobody notices it until it's too late. So I'll be in there, somewhere, and then someone else, oh my God, look at that. It takes a while for them to notice. So I'm gonna train up and it's like more easier on us. But then later on, Elon Musk, as we're doing it, came up with his dark MAGA. And my man said, yo, this is my idea. I said, yeah, this was your idea because you always rock that hat for months. So that's the side about Charlotte Marty. And yeah, maybe we'll put the online store on the description. But anyway, to answer your question, back to normal is that so far with China, even before this, there was a lot of cyber warfare with our systems. Sometimes cell phones went down, as you may recall, Leo, when like, oh my God, the cell phones are down. But with this, it's like a little tariff war and tit for tat, where, all right, you're going to attack us with tariffs. Now we're going to attack your companies with our same, I won't say lawfare, but business back and forth kind of economics. Yeah, economics warfare. That's where I think you should call that. Understand?
Economic warfare. Sorry, adjusting my camera slightly. Economic warfare. Well, yeah, I definitely see where the economic warfare came into place, but do you know about any particular case that they've actually made suit?
No, actually, I haven't been following that trend. Like I said, the first portion you had for me, like we haven't really talked about the Department of Education at all, in the previous episodes. So I was ready for that one. Linda McMahon, baby, the American dream, if you will. So when it
Okay,
comes to,
so we'll talk about that. EU is suing companies because they're violating laws. They're running in and doing what they want. They're like, wait, 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 you ain't supposed to do that. Stop, stop. You're not stopping. All right, we have to sue. They violate. We won't get into that now. I'll let you have a little more time to research it because the lawsuits have been going on for uh over a decade. Like 4 or 5 years ago, Google got sued. 3, 4 years ago, Facebook got sued. It's not something that happened since Donald Trump's been in office. It's not something that's going to go away. So we don't have to discuss it right now. But since you're eager to discuss the destruction of the Board of Education, it's something I was waiting to talk about. I wanted that to be an episode unto itself, but
oh,
we'll tackle it a little bit. No, that's a big one. As a former teacher, you did some education yourself. Uh, I'm sure that we both want to talk about that a great deal. I only taught for 2 years, but let's talk about it. They want to destroy the board of it. They want to destroy the board of education, and Linda McMahon's been put in position to body slam it. What's happening?
Going to put it in $1 billion dream that even Ted DiBiase can't afford, baby. All right, so boom. So Linda McMahon, as you know, may not know, she comes from the wrestling world, from the WWF to WWE, with her husband Vince McMahon, who's the owner and founder of the wrestling, the Hulk Hogan stuff. If you don't know, follow that like us. So she is from Connecticut, and she's run for United States Senate to represent Connecticut as well. So she's came from the political game. In Connecticut, being a Republican, she was always not, or her and her husband were always cool with Donald Trump before his racist. Because Donald Trump, again, like Mike Tyson and Don King, used to let them have, WrestleMania and stuff like that on his venues, making it easier to do business. So they've always been cool. You should see Donald Trump coming through WrestleManias and wrestling events and pay-per-views, like he used to do with Saturday Night Live and other things. He do cameos and all that kind of stuff, making it fun with his brand. And everybody's making money together, which was beautiful. So when Trump first ran and won in 2016, he brought Linda McMahon on because she was politically savvy for running for office and some other matters to be the administrator for the Small Business Association. So when COVID hit and those kind of things, Linda McMahon was helping the Small Business Association, with those kind of forms of things of that nature. If you have a business like myself and loans and monies and other regulatory bodies with usual certifications to get approvals for federal contracting. There you go. Because that's another hot topic too. That's been cut. So now it's been a long time where people on this side of the fence say that this is promises made, promises kept, because on the campaign trail, Donald Trump has always wanted to do this. And the reason being, he already knew, like a lot of people, there's a lot of waste and fraud and corruption in education. For example, I'm a substitute teacher. I recently got reactivated. I've done that before. I've done teacher assistants before I became paraprofessional. So that's the aspect of education I come in. I never consider myself an educator, but I feel honored when Leo reminds me and other people, yeah, you're an educator. You're a black man that did it in this aspect. I was like, okay, cool. Whatever. I guess I'll use that on my CV. So with her, she's following the same thing. But if you break your fear with facts, I got to coin that one, and go to US Department of Education.gov website and actually go to the bottom, what it does, you're like, wait a minute, this thing is one big, could be exploited as waste and a payday for a lot of people I know personally, from being vendors in schools. I'm sure Leo, and also being principals. No disrespect or offense to them with their craft, but the Department of Education historically was started by Jimmy Carter. Now, if you look at his administration, the great idea, it made sense to have a federal agency on top of everybody helping out. That always makes sense.
What
FEMA,
was the Federal Board of Education created to do exactly?
well, it was supposed to, in my opinion, I don't have the facts point by point, you know, be an assistant supplement to regular local departments of education. Because the Department of Education, because I do hashtag school choice with Blexit, shout out to them. Education first started out in the home. Now, a lot of people have to realize that historically, with parents in the community. Then the next step was formal education locally with certain schools. Like Blacks had their own schools. Then Reconstruction created HBCUs, as you may know. But then you got the great robber barons that came in and try to organize it more formally. The Carnegies, the Fords with their funding, in which local cities started creating their own little school systems to make it more orderly in that fashion. So then the Department of Education came in the 70s under Carter to be like the overall arching for the entire country, provide funding and resources locally. So again, you have to go on, because sometimes real time, Leo, while we're doing this, I go on these websites to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So,
Well, I mean, I've done a little bit of research,
okay. So,
and I noted that you stated that there was a lot of waste
okay, good. I'll get to
at the
that.
federal level, but 80% of funding from schools actually comes from the state level. The things that the Federal Board of Education funds and covers are things like the Pell Grant that
Right.
makes it affordable for people to go to school. They handle student loans, which makes it possible for people that are not millionaires to go to school. They handle Title I. Let me go to my notes. I don't want to, which is assistance for low income schools. So if you're in an area where you're not getting enough money from the state because I don't know, you don't have enough state taxes because not enough people are working, or in more rural areas because the population density is so low, you're not collecting enough state taxes to cover your funding for school. So what I'm saying in English is if you're in a red state, then that's where you get your funding from is the Board of Ed. And blue states, the population density tends to be quite a great deal higher, requiring a lot less funding from the feds. So actually pulling the Board of Education is actually affecting red states more. Title IX, which is the gender-based harassment. So women, girls, little girls can't be harassed for their gender. I do believe, where is it? I gotta find it because it covers most interestingly from the civil rights. It covers integration into schools. So without the Federal Board of Education, schools would not have been integrated during the civil rights era. That was one of the main things about the Board of Education being formed, actually. It was to integrate schools. You want to speak? Go ahead.
Okay. So, Leo, one thing you can do too with the live is when you share your screen or allow me to share my screen, simultaneously you'll present that information. Maybe down the line we'll do that. Like we should always share a screen because they'll share. And so I'll just read briefly 2 lines. The Education Department's mission is to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring access, equal access. They didn't say equitable, they said equal access. Congress established the
You
department.
should be able to share that if you want.
Oh, okay, you're gonna make me do it. All right, guys, we're
You know,
going to
make you, but
we're gonna take it to the next level, guys, because me, I try to make the facts, break the fear. So as you can see, I read the first two here, and so but here are the bullet points. All right, 1980 it was started, and under President Carter, 1979. All right, boom. Mission 2, strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal educational opportunity for every individual. Boom.
that is the integration of schools.
Well, that actually came decades ago, but it's piggybacking off that. Yes. All right. Supplement and see, like I said before, it supplements and complements the efforts of states, the local school systems, and other instrumentalities of the states, the private sector, public and private nonprofit educational research institutions, CBOs, community-based organizations, parents, students to improve the quality of education. Encourage the increased involvement of the public, parents, and the students in federal education programs, promote improvements in the quality and usefulness of education through federally supported research, evaluation, and share of information, improve the coordination of federal education programs, improve the management of federal education activities, and increase the accountability of federal education programs to the president, the Congress, and the public. So if you read some of these bullet points, you have to ask yourself, is it working? And one thing I am big on is that just like with DEI, does it work for Black America? Because sometimes we come back to that center foundation, like me and Leo here. And the
Well,
answer is, huh?
with that break, I would like to bring in a couple of things. Is it working? Generation Alpha underperforms. Generation Z underperformed. As for previous generations, the compulsory education has been broken. 19% illiteracy. That's 1 in 5 students in graduates. So out of every 5 kids that graduate, one of them can't read. If you walk into a room with 20 people, 5 of them can't read. Wait a minute, that's wrong. If you went into a room with 100 people, 5 of them can't read. At at the seventh grade level, it's terrible. I mean, when I say can't read, I mean at the third grade level. The average adult American reads at a seventh grade level. It's like 80%. The numbers are astounding. There is also IDEA. I don't think the website mentions
You
IDEA.
said you said 1 out of 5, right? So remember, that's a fraction, Leo. That means if you have 100 people, you times 100 by 1/5, and that means 100 times 1 divided
Oh,
by
it's
20
20,
the bar
20,
equals out of 100 people, 20 people.
20, 20.
Oh,
My
let me do
fault.
education fact check.
Ah, I got caught. Thank you. I'm slipping. I didn't teach math. But that's right.
These
So
are
if
good.
you're in a room with five people, one of them is illiterate and graduated high. If you're in a room with five graduates, we're not counting the ones who don't make it through the system and fall through the cracks. If you're in a room with people, five children or five adults that have graduated high school, one of them still can't read.
Right,
And
but
then there's the ones that don't make it. Oh,
right. So you see, Leo, I try to make people in the hood, especially understand Trump or not, consistently the president of the United States, Congress, and the Supreme Courts with their checks and balances, when it comes to education and other systems that are to the public, like public housing, public transportation, and public works, and some other things, they're just cutting the check, to be honest with you, throwing money at the problem. And if you take the New York City public school system, the largest in the country, whatever the case may be, they cut a check. Now, it's about the
but their
administration.
job is actually to monitor their job is to actually monitor the curriculum and its effectiveness. Even though they do not create curriculums, that's a misnomer that was
Right.
pushed by
You
the
see,
Trump administration. Curriculums are created at the state level. That's why in Florida they were able to burn books while the rest of us were still learning
go.
the compulsory history that is actually not true. But that's for a different discussion.
People still can't read. But the point is, Leo, that you said it yourself, they're supposed to monitor. So when Donald Trump monitors now and finds waste and cuts it out, he's doing a job pursuant the mission statement. George W. Bush, if you remember Common Core, Common Core, Common Core, because people forget the historical aspect of the things, that was when he actually did something some people disagree with constitutionally, which is try to regulate localities when it comes to education. And some saying that Donald Trump is doing the same thing now, and they're correct. But the point is that from a mission statement created by the president of the United States, then Donald Trump is trying to dismantle, like the president of the United States, as the executive officer, president and CEO of America, if you want to call it that, because us, as Black people, we know this is a company, this country, so they're saying. So now back to public school. Again, if the federal government cuts a check for the public school system of $5 billion and it's mismanaged, I'll give you a perfect example. You before now they've created so that the big schools, the high schools, at least those buildings, they've chopped up into like four schools in a building, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So now you have four schools in one building of the same children from the same community for whatever purpose. Either one is the engineering school, the other one is the justice school, whatever the case may be. So that means in New York, you have four principals in each school. I mean, per school, you have one principal. So it's four principals. Now, you have four principals doing the same work that one principal did back in the day before they chopped it up, correct?
They're managing different curriculums,
No,
completely
hear
different
me, hear me
curriculums.
out, but hear me out. Here's the logical sequence. The point is, you have the same population of students from the same neighborhoods doing certain things and different auspices of schools for certain different curriculums when that could have been managed in a different way, according to one principle like it used to be. So now you have four.
But being that's handled at the state level and the funding's handled at the state level, none of that has to do with destroying the Federal Board of Education
I'm just
because the state is
explaining to you.
funding it.
Well, no. I just told you the federal government, amongst the state and local, they cut a check. Again, they put funding on top of it. So there's three levels of funding.
What did their funding cover? Because it doesn't cover each principal. That's not what happens. What
Here,
does it actually covers?
no. Hear me out. Again, local, state, and federal funding. So federal funding comes in. Now I could be wrong. I'll put that out there, Leo, to make sure you're covered. So federal funding is an example when it comes to principals. So you have four principals in one building take care of the same student population community. Now, each principal makes a salary up to or more of $200,000. So you have
The
four.
feds don't cover that. That's not.
Well,
That's
I'm just
we're
giving you an
going off. That's
example.
not what they cover.
That's what I said. I said I could be wrong, Leo, but hear me out again. So you have four people making salaries of over $200,000 when theoretically you have one person cutting out the administrative costs. I go to CUNY. Okay, CUNY is another example. The City University of New York. The City University of New York used to be free, right? The City College and those things, correct? Okay, so because of whatever the powers to be or usual, cliches, they want to incorporate tuition like the other private schools. But the research showed that it would cost more to add in that administrative component than just to keep it consistently free the way it was. So the point is, the administrative component historically has been the main source of all this waste across the board in different agencies, especially education. For example, why do you have four principals in one building? Why are these vendors making so much money for pencil sharpeners that always break down electronically when the lasted for decades? You see what I'm saying with durability. So I'll stop there. Go ahead, Leo.
Okay, so we basically just talked for 25 minutes about the Board of Education funding that is not coming from the federal level. The things that the federal handles are the children that with IEPs, which some might call special ed with the individual educational programs. They handle, I don't want to spend a lot of time. We only
Okay,
got like
well,
20
we
minutes
can
left.
transition to this
We,
one. Watch this. So, Leo, on the collegiate level, they control the Pell Grant and the funding for the colleges. And Donald Trump said any college that teaches the woke curriculum, he's going to pull funding and also the little charters set up for higher education. So now they have all these protests for the Israel-Palestine situation. That's another thing that we've been targeting. I mean, not we, but the administration.
So the administration is getting rid of a man who was part of the protests for Israel and deporting him, even though he's an American citizen. How do you deport an American citizen? How does that work?
Okay, now with that case, I didn't literally study that too closely, but the point is
It
this.
just happened like 2 days ago. That's fair.
Right. In New York City, of course, Columbia University, these things. All right. So again, back to the Department of Education being dismantled and pulling funding and resources and some of those certifications for colleges to educate us receiving federal funding if they do all these woke things. Now, on the right side of the fence, because I am a former Democrat and learning this new world, navigating it for years, these people, like a lot of things, even on the socialist level, are big fans of Israel. And Palestinian protests on the Israel campuses, I'm not the Israel campus, on the college campuses are rampant, and where they claim anti-Semitism, sometimes there's bullying and things of that nature because the pro-Palestinian side drowns out and outnumbers the pro-Israel side on the college level because everybody's been pro-Palestine. Even when I was in college and George W. did the whole thing, it's always the same way. And it's always racial and those kind of things. And then anti-Semitism comes out, Jews rule the world, blah, blah, New York City. So,
Well, even with the
wait, but the point is,
protests at Trump Plaza, even with the protests at Trump Plaza, this was so deplorable that it was the Jews who ran into Trump Plaza to protest it. Even the Jews are like, nah, you wildin'. The
right.
Jews ran in
So,
and protested at Trump Plaza. This man
okay, well,
protesting for Israel, protesting against Israel because this deportation is so heinous.
all right, I don't disagree with that, but the thing is that when it comes to the deportation side, that was a component overall with the migration issue, as we know, with Holman. So Trump and the pro-Israel people realized, hey, this is actually a good idea in the sense that we could use this as a mechanism to deport all the migrant immigrant protesters, mainly on college campuses that receive that the colleges that receive funding to support them deport them as a mechanism to create the fear and that kind of stuff. But keep in mind that with any
So
protest,
he's using deportation as a weapon to instill fear so people don't practice their First Amendment rights.
well, Leo, remember,
Citizens don't practice their First Amendment rights.
well, no, well, okay, can I say this? Now, again, he, I should say, the Trump administration, because remember, in politics, it's Hollywood for ugly. When I say Trump, I mean the administration, not just the person. The answer is yes, in my opinion, because fear works more effectively than guns and police presence. Case in point, when the hood and beyond heard that ICE was in the neighborhood and they were running up in getting the criminal people that burn people alive on the subway system, history, then it was so concerning that even a common Native American criminal and drug dealer wasn't, it was too hot for them to, to make some money. And that was a good thing because it was just pure fear in which the police didn't have to intimidate brutality or, they come in with the guns or even the National Guard and our subway systems couldn't deter. But yes, fear is a good deterrent vocabulary word for these kind of things. So using fear as a deterrent that we're going to deport you on the college campuses, all you foreign students that are using our monies to come in here to actually get our education and then springboard back to your country and elevate your economy, yes, we will deport you. Now, mind you, right or wrong, we're just saying that Israel, poor Israel, has a lot of influence over our government historically beyond Trump, just like the education system was broken beyond Trump and the subway was broken beyond Trump previous presidents. That's what's happening.
But he's deporting a United States citizen for practicing First Amendment rights. That's
Okay,
what's
now
happening.
now the thing about that is just like in my opinion and observing and what I know is that the that being that's like saying, all right, I'm the president, I'm going to end natural birth citizenships. Across the board, it was like, well, he can't do that. We have a meanwhile, I'll whip this out. Something called this. You see what this is? This is the pocket. Shout out to 917 Society that this is unconstitutional. The same thing with that. I believe, I could be wrong, but most I believe because of the Constitution and the court system that it's going to have to be backpedaled, being that he can't do it. For example, remember all the people that he fired? Now the court system says he can't do that. He has to rehire, these people. So this is the checks and balances that people
Yes, that was the Veterans Affairs, Agriculture, Defense, Energy, Interior, and Treasury that have to be rehired. Yes.
correct. So again, Donald Trump is just throwing so much stuff at the that he's going to see what sticks, what doesn't work, and most importantly, he's using it as a mechanism to make people waste money. How? Because all he has to do is sign a piece of paper and then put it out there, and now all these civil rights organizations and beyond, they have to waste time, resources, and lawyers to try to stop him. So he's attacking, I guess, or a lot of things from different ends. So the same case where it came to I'm trying to get rid of natural birth citizenship when it comes to deporting an American citizen. In fact, if everything works out, he's an American citizen, then boom, 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 he's in violation. And then the court system's like, well, there you go.
Meanwhile, Trump is saying that this is just the beginning. There'll be many more deportations of this nature. This is what he's been saying for the last 2 days. He's going to deport more citizens if they practice their First Amendment rights. This is what he's been saying.
Okay, well, remember,
I
Donald
wish
Trump
he would
did a lot of
just
things.
stick. I wish he would just stick to going on in front of the White House and selling Teslas. Um, I caught myself saying, what else is there? Because we're running low on time. It's about 15 minutes. There's so much. I'm
But you see, the
trying
thing
to
is,
pick through.
the education Pandora's box is open because that touches education as well. So if you want to keep with educational themes, we can keep going. So it's up to you. Or you want to transition to something else? Let's see what else you have here for me.
Well, we have a few things. 10 Democrats crossed the aisle to censure Al Green. I don't know who paid attention to that case,
Me.
but Al Green interrupted Trump. He was a little disrespectful because he was so upset at the things going on. And he didn't do anything Republicans haven't done in the past. He didn't do anything, not that what he did was right, but Democrats have a problem with sticking together. Republicans are under one umbrella. This appears to show the fracture in the Democratic Party where they couldn't decide how to protest Trump. Three different methods were used. Some walked out, some of them didn't show up. This guy starts yelling. It's a fracture in the Democratic Party. There's no leadership. There's no one saying we're all going to do this with everybody following. What do you have to say about the fact that 10, that's a lot. 10, 10,
Okay.
10, up 10, 10 times, 10 times Democrats, 5 times, 10 Democrats crossed the aisle to vote to censure Al Green for his disruption of Trump, who was escorted out of the speech. He was escorted out. It, it was kind of an embarrassment, but a lot of people were supporting him and got behind him because of his actions. What do you say about the Democrats that crossed the aisle? How do you feel about that as a MAGA supporter?
Well, as a free black man, on behalf of others of likewise mindset, I say, well, he's an embarrassment to Black America. How about that? All right. So yes, I think that the dissent of 5 Democrats is equal because it does happen on the right side, as you can see with Mitch McConnell, the former majority leader, is that it does happen if it's something that they believe is egregious or doesn't suit their political purposes. Now, mind you, you can't use the word racism when it comes to this kind of thing, because and Democrats don't really do that to themselves, which is horrible. And I'm of the belief, like you said, there's no leadership. They're eating each other because Donald Trump won. Everything they tried to stop him with doesn't work. And a minority of the LGBT community and other pro-liberal community, which is a minority of the population, they have a control of that population. Just like some people can argue the Jewish Israeli power base is small and controls influences our government majority of the democracy. So having said that, yes, this is showing that the Democrats are trying to, I won't say pacify, but also go with their constituency further to the center, right? Like, yeah, this speech interruption wasn't appropriate. On top of that, not standing up and clapping for the brain cancer survivor, a little child, is inappropriate, or the family whose daughter was killed by a migrant wasn't appropriate. And that, you know what, the real public itself, the proletariat, the constituency is turning against the blue team right now for that kind of reason.
I think what's happening there is Trump is one of the greatest showmans in the history of the world. What he does is he brings out a sample family, a person, and tugs at the heartstrings of Americans, and then delivers something in his speech that's going to change everything that mostly is nonsense, but will support it because he just showed he has had this person that went through this traumatic experience and their heartstrings is behind it, and he tells him he's brilliant at it. He's one of the best showmen in the world. I, like take the California fire for instance. The California fire, he flipped the switch and had water sent to California to fight the fires, when in reality, it was waste, fraud, and abuse because that water never arrived. They weren't able to use it to fight the fire. It was just a photo op like the Tesla. It
What
wasn't
happened in North
true.
Carolina, Leo? In North Carolina, again, he could be very affectionate, but all right, nobody wants to talk about what happened in North Carolina with their hurricane that Donald Trump came in and fixed. But oh well. The media, go ahead.
How did he come in and fix a hurricane?
No, no, remember, it was a lot of destruction and organization and politically motivated, unassistance in North Carolina, since the hurricane hit. But once Donald Trump came into the administration, his FEMA and also his resources helped out a lot. But again, the media is not reporting it. So the media, the fourth branch of government with other special interest groups, is a part of the problem with the branding of our president and those things. But yes, go ahead.
The FEMA that he's trying to dismantle?
Yes.
His FEMA that he's trying to.
Let me know
So
what I'm
what you're
talking about.
saying
Let me see
is,
so.
I'm sorry?
Now I'm looking up the answer. Go ahead.
Okay. In the meantime, since we're talking about finances, what does it mean that the stock market's crashing, prices are going up, and people are upset? Even MAGA people are running up on senators won't even hold town hall meetings in their own red towns anymore because people are not happy with the economy. That is the biggest thing happening right now. He promised he would fix the economy in day one. He would the price of eggs would come down was his big proclamation to ensure people that the price of everything would come down, which was a lie, couldn't be done because deflation is worse than inflation. And when prices come down, it's called deflation. It would have meant the economy was in worse trouble. So everything he said there was a lie or a basic misunderstanding of economics, which I do not believe Trump to have. I believe Trump knows economics well enough to know that that's probably a bad thing. He doesn't want to have to lower prices on things he sells. He's running the country like he runs his businesses, which is he doesn't pay people, he declares bankruptcy, which is what
Here we
most
go
Democrats
again.
are afraid of. Okay, so tell me where you see something different. He doesn't pay his
Okay.
people is something that the course is making him pay people. That is something that he's historically known for.
Okay, well, all right. Now, the historical perspective of President Donald Trump's business dealings is one thing. But now, if you go to your search engine, Google or Mozilla or Internet Explorer or shout to DuckDuckGo, you'll see that inflation is easing, Leo. So the things that Donald Trump has been doing obviously are working because right now it says inflation is easing, but it's still higher than the federal average. Fine, but it is coming down. For the chickens, that was again a media political tool because of the bird flu. So the Biden administration killed off all these chickens because of the bird flu. All of a sudden, oh man, eggs have to go up. Again, back to the migrants because we have so many people and the supply remains the same, if not goes lower. The demand is higher, therefore inflation kicks in and the prices should go up because that's normal business sense. So those are two things I'm giving your logic, reason, understanding. Some say common sense, but that's a loud noise should kick in and figure out, all right, Dion might be on to something. So now that deals with the economy in that aspect. Then we have to go to the tariffs, the power of the tariff and negotiation tool of the tariff with these many nations. Canada makes the number one, what, maple sugar and those kind of things in the world. So, hey, we have leverage. And Donald Trump, well, we have leverage too down here because of, all your financial dealings like everybody else comes through America. We buy a lot of stuff from around the world, but we're going to stop. How about that? Then the EU is going to chime in. All right, well, Donald Trump is a big threat. So now we got to stop that Donald Trump. Leah, you're talking. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right, I don't want to cut you off. So that's the economic things that Donald Trump is doing right now when it comes to improving our economic state stability, as it were. The same thing when it goes to cutting fraud, waste, and spending. That's the last word. Sorry, spending of the United States of America agencies that are not really effective and putting more responsibilities on the locals. Like, all right, there's a federal emergency in your state, with a disaster, you guys should take the lead and we should support you. Or actually, no, we're just going to give you the money. We're going to cut the agency off. All right, education, you know what? We're done with that. You guys here, just take the money and we're going to leave you to your own educational devices. How about that? And we're staying out of it. So you only have to blame yourself, not us. And that should increase the budget. Now, again, mind you, the judges are rehiring people that he's been firing because he's trying to cut that out the system. But these are the checks and balances we have in place. Why isn't Congress doing their job and passing bills instead of just protesting on the Democratic side, all day, every day for the sake of protesting Donald Trump? And that's another huge problem.
Well, that leaves me with a question. I have a question for you about that. So they control both the House and the Senate. They control Congress. Democrats don't have no say so. They can put any bill they want into place. So if they're in such strong support of Donald Trump, why are they having such a difficult time when they control the House and the Senate? They pass bills. Democrats can't stop anything. Passing this financial bill, which is going to destroy Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security.
Okay, so if you remember, you have 5 Democrats crossing over for the censure, correct? So
I thought
now,
it was 10.
okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, then now well, you have Democrats crossing across the aisle and blah blah, the cliche. The same thing too. They have to have an issue or a bill so compelling or an argument so compelling to actually break the great divide and have Republicans cross over to their same side. For example, again, back to the example of Mitch McConnell. He's the one that's done it when it comes to these confirmation hearings and using his leverage and influence over it. You have to find allies. That's the democracy and also compromising system that should happen in dialogue between both parties and independent electeds in the Congress. For example, when Obamacare was in, remember Obamacare, y'all? Come on, y'all. Obamacare, the Republicans actually were furious with the Tea Party about Obamacare and these wonderful things. They didn't have the power and control, correct? Because they were a minority at the time of Obama. And he had both houses, even though he used it to help black people. So anyway, so basically what did the Republicans do? They protest, rally, and cry, Tea Party protests, tea torches, they put in your face as needed to scare you. But the question Democrats had, well, where's your bill? What is your solution for Obamacare? The Republicans had nothing. So that's the same point here. Donald Trump's doing all these things. He has the majority of the House, and Democrats are complaining. But what is your alternative? Where's your Project 2025? You know what I mean? So that's the point. They may not
You
get
kind of
it, but they have
deflected.
no game plan.
You kind of deflected. So my question was, there's a bill on the table right now to pass for finances as we speak that Donald Trump is visiting people and knocking on their doors. Like you got Republicans trying to strong arm them the way he did to get people into the seats that he wanted, like Cash Patel. You're
Well,
going to do this because I'm telling you you're going to do this, or Elon Musk is going to put so much
well,
money behind you, behind taking you out that you will not hold your seat.
okay. Well, the thing is,
He's
Leo.
attempting to strong arm people into passing this financial bill, which
Okay,
destroys Medicare, Medicaid, and reduces Social
okay.
Security.
Okay, well, let's say, okay, for argument's sake, remember that cliche from our day? Let's say you're right. But then again, I'm not deflecting as we're looking at Congress, which is both houses, right? This is the same scenario in which Republicans can have control, but then what's the problem with the Democrats? Hakeem Jeffries, who's just a puppet, in my opinion, as a speaker, whereas Nancy Pelosi's still in charge. If we look at that dynamic, he's like, well, there's nothing we can really do. He threw in his towel. Now, Chuck Schumer, again, the majority of both these characters are from New York, correct? He's like, yeah, he's capitulating. He's like, yeah, we shouldn't have a government shutdown. Even though Democrats say, yeah, we should let the government shut down in order to prove to the country that Donald Trump's evil and we're against and we're protesting all these bills and the things that he's trying strong on. That's a fact. So Hakeem Jeffries, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Minority Leader, excuse me, of the House of Representatives, he threw in the towel. There's nothing really we could do. You've seen that imagery in videos. Chuck Schumer recently, when it comes to the spending bill, I believe, or I could be wrong, but to prevent the government shutdown coming up, he's like, yeah, we have to make some concessions. Now, again, the Democrats are egg fighting, but that just goes to show you they have no real game plan or strategy. Their strategy was let the government shut down so because Donald Trump's evil, this is our protest to shut down. But then people are like, no, if we do that, they're going to hate us even more so. So those are the facts as I see it.
Well, the problem is, you're right. They have no leadership.
Thank you.
Letting the government shut down is something the Republicans have done many times over the last decade. I can count 4 or 5 of them.
Right, but you see, it goes to show the Democrats' hypocrisy because they were so against those kind of things, but now they're using the same tools and strategies as Republicans. Is that ironic?
Actually, what they're doing is saying they don't want to use it, and that's what you just said. The
Okay.
problem is, the problem that I'm having here is the amount of people that'll be hurt by this bill. And what is it? Like I said, it's trumped up trickle down economics. Put the money in the hands of the rich and it'll trickle down. These guys are billionaires. Trump said it out of his own mouth 2 days ago. So that's the game plan. It's trickle down economics. They called economics back in the 80s. It's trumped up trickle down economics. It's the same thing he did when he was in office the first time that he brags about on a consistent basis every time he's on TV, which happens to be just about every day. He says that he's going to give more money to the billionaires. It's going to trickle down. This is his game plan. It didn't work in the 80s. It didn't work first time he was in office when he had the greatest economy ever. Because, if it wasn't for the pandemic, you'd have seen just how great it was, but the pandemic shut us down. And then he's trying to do the same thing now. How is giving billionaires like Elon Musk more money and taking the money out of the taxpayers' hands going to help the average American?
Okay. So let's see, Leo. On our previous recorded episodes, I said this again. Simplistically, number one, when it comes to Social Security, two things. No tax on Social Security, which helps the majority of the middle and lower middle class. The next thing, cut waste, fraud, and spending on Social Security for people that are hundreds of years old. They're probably dead, but still the checks and funding are getting spit out. The next thing
Hold on, wait. Let's discuss the Social Security thing right quick, because I'm gonna put that to bed right now. So the claim is that there's people on there from hundreds of years ago, right? Social Security didn't start till the 1920s. Social Security is only 100 years old. Computers weren't being used by the government till the 1940s. People weren't entered into the system until the 1940s. So people cannot have been there for hundreds of years. That's a lie. It's not possible. It didn't even exist hundreds. It didn't exist until 100 years ago. So how are the people collecting it for 300 years? It's not true. It's a lie. The Social Security did not exist till the 1920s. Computers weren't being used to enter information till the 1940s. No, it's a lie.
Okay. So you're meaning to tell me that Social Security was started in 1920, right? For people that were eligible in 1920. So let's say I'm 60 years old in 1920 and I kicked in for Social Security. Now, was 60 years old, 1920 to 2022. So that's basically roughly 90 something years. So you add 90 years to 60-year-old who just received Social Security in 1921. That's the mathematics.
Okay, so let's say there are people, I'll go for that. I'll go for it. Let's do it. You have extreme
Oh, here
cases
we
where people
go.
got, no, based on the numbers you gave, you have extreme cases where people were entered into the system at 150 years old. So then how did people
No,
over
no, no,
200
no,
years
no,
old? How did
no,
people
no,
over 250 years old? How did
no.
people over
He didn't say
300 years
that.
old?
He
How did
didn't say
somebody over
that.
3 years, 100 years
He,
old get entered?
he,
It's not true.
He didn't say that. He only went into
He
the
did say
100.
that. Every time they talk about it, they say that.
Okay. Well, the fact remains. Again, if you're 60 years old in 1920, when Social Security just hit the streets and you're happy, on paper, your name, your Social Security number on paper in the system, on paper in the 60s, as it's being scanned into the system, into the database, as the age of computers happened decades after the fact. Elon Musk goes in there with Doge. I said, all right, boom. Here's a person whose Social Security number is this, whose date of birth is this, 1890 or something like that, who turned 60 or whatever the case may be, from the 1800s into the 1900s, the 20th century. This person potentially is collecting Social Security, but that's just one example out of these many examples, President Trump, on your desk of where this waste fraud spending is going to with that demographic. Then he reads it all.
Unfortunately, the problem is they've listed people, over 100 people that they claim are getting Social Security checks over 200 years old. Even by the extraordinary mathematics that somebody entered them into the system in the 1940s, even though it was born in 1890, that somebody manually put them in the system because that's how it had to be, right? That somebody manually entered them into the system, collected Social Security, even though they were dead a long time ago, 150 years old. Let's say that happened and there were people that are 150 years old. Let's say that that happened. How do you have people over 200 years old, over 250 years old? He said there's 60 people over 200 years old. Something is not true about this. He said there's somebody over 300 years old. How old is the
So,
country?
so
Social Security,
okay,
they were entered into the system 200 years
okay.
after Social Security was made.
All right, good. Look,
This is the
listen,
claim.
first of all, President Trump says a lot of things. Number two, just like,
Consistently every time he's on air.
well, yeah,
And
but you
he's
see,
lying to say there's waste, fraud, and abuse to try and shut down government agencies. He's lying to shut down government agencies where the math proves he's lying without even having to do a lot of thinking. People could not be in the system for entered into the system 200 years after they died. He's lying.
right, fine, he's lying, but that doesn't negate the fact that it's true on the surface of that there is waste, fraud, and spending in the Department of Social, I mean, in the Social Security Administration. That's the facts. The
He's
next thing
lying to
is,
the American people to
okay,
shut down government agencies. And
okay,
the biggest problem, and he's trying to, so he's going to take taxes off of SSI, but meanwhile, he's going to lower the amount of funding that the SSI receives. So the taxes that he takes off with that bill are not going to compensate for the amount of money that they lose.
okay. So again, just like voting, you have people on the record in Social Security that exist that are dead and shouldn't be eligible to receive Social Security. So just like voting, there are people on the voter rolls that are dead who don't exist that shouldn't be voting. Now, where does the fraud come in?
Hold
Some
on, wait. I want to answer that. I want to respond to that if you don't mind. That claim has been made for more than a month, yet for some odd reason, I can't figure out why, no one's ever said or found if those checks went out. They said the people are in the system, but they don't know if they're getting paid. It's a month later. How come they haven't been able to trace the checks if they're telling the truth?
Well, I'm glad you said that because again, the logic, reason, understanding still is sound because that's a fact. There are people still on record, whether it's voting, Social Security, education, by date of birth that exists in the system that should be dead. So now the argument is if these people are still in the system and they aren't purged, are they receiving funding? Let's look into this. Elon Musk is looking into this. So once that report is there, maybe we should go to doge.gov or go to Twitter X and look at it. But yes, those are the facts, Leo. So in fact, it does exist. Now, what Donald Trump says is one thing, but what exists as a fact is another. That's why it's incumbent upon
The
you to
fact that
do it.
somebody being in the system for 200 years before a system is made sounds almost like an alternate fact. It doesn't sound like,
News.
I mean, you underrated common sense. You said common sense is overly used or whatever term. I kind of lean on common sense. You know, if
It's
there's a
demonized
wall
because
there, I'm not
Republicans
going to
say
walk
it and
into it.
Democrats don't.
One more time.
I said it's demonized because Republicans use it as a tool in their speech, whereas Democrats don't. That's why it has a stigma to it. It's common sense. because common sense is in common, blah, 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 blah. So that's why it's more used on the right side than the left side at all. And so it's a right side cliche. You know what I mean? Like, what
I'm unbiased. I'm bipartisan. I
does it
don't
sound
care
like it?
about left or right. I care about facts. I care about honesty. I care about using logic to figure things out. And the numbers don't add up. There's a problem. People lie, numbers don't is another cliche. And the numbers that are being given are counterintuitive. They don't make sense. Common sense dictates that somebody didn't sit in the 1940s and put somebody that was 200 years old into the system, to the social security system to collect checks. It doesn't make logical sense.
All right, well, looks like this old time we have. So,
Oh man, that's why I didn't want to spend so much time on education at the beginning. I had to veer away from it. That's an entire episode unto itself. I told you we spent a half hour, 40 minutes on it and still didn't go all the way. It's a big topic. And I really do have a lot more notes on it that we were not able to get into. I'm waiting for Linda McMahon to come and try and put the board of it to sleep. And then we could talk about it more in depth. Because the thing that Donald Trump used to be able to control the narrative was that woke institutions, woke school learning or curriculums, woke school curriculums needed to be dissolved when the federal government doesn't control the curriculum. So that's a false narrative. As a matter of fact,
they control the
the
funding
books,
that actually makes the curriculum implemented. So, yes, if you're doing curriculum that he doesn't like, he's going to pull the funding. That's how it works.
well, actually, he
That's the influence of the
supplements,
curriculum.
incentivizes, but he doesn't control. If 80% of the budget comes from us, the only funding you can pull is from people, from special education kids, from
Colleges,
poor income kids. You can't really pull the funding from curriculum. You don't control the curriculum. It's illegal for the federal government to control the curriculum.
but that's when
So
money, besides Republicans, influence the curriculum, just like the drag queen story.
just like
Just like the other pronouns funding in education and gender fluidity, affirming care, all that kind of funding influence the curriculum. So if I give you a grant to your school to help out, but in the fine print it says you must teach this, that's influencing the curriculum, right and wrong.
that is incentivizing, which another word for that could be influencing. Yes.
Coercion.
The answer was yes, not to deflect. Yes, they called it incentivizing, but yes, it's influencing. Absolutely, 100%, without question. And the gender fluidity thing was, well, got me saying, first time, because I don't want to insult all of the people out there that are part of the
We don't
LBGQT, if I
insult
said the right
anybody. We
community.
don't insult the Jews. We don't insult the black people. Everybody across the board. The fact that remains is this: across the board, the pronouns were like, in my opinion, when it was first administered and legislatively implemented, was like the fastest piece of legislation I ever seen put out there, PR, voted on, and implemented. That's a fact. I was shocked because remember, these things are slow when you do the protests, the rallies, the lobbying, then voting, and then legislate, and then kicks in 3 years later. You know what I mean? But man, those pronouns, boy, whew, I was like, holy crap. Now you have to spend millions of dollars to changing applications, forms, the printed versions, the computers. But yes, that's when you have a minority issue that affects a minority of people implemented in its totality. Not even civil rights and these wonderful things were implemented so fast back in the day. You see what I'm saying? That affected them
Definitely not.
4%, 14% of the population. I'm just going by the numbers. So just again, like just like the Jews in America, they're a small percentage of the population, but with all the money, access, and influence of a government, they're able to sway things and put politicians in their pocket. So that's the issue I'm bringing attention to. That goes for Jews, LGBT, Black people, China. So
Word.
the
I like you said, Tom is definitely not on my side. I gotta get my kid ready for school. I appreciate you coming on. You, as always, give interesting ideologies. Got me saying, I'm trying to figure out the right word for it, where you can make people think. Because across the aisle, both sides definitely have important and real concerns and agendas. that we should try and understand rather than allow people to demonize. We need to think about it for ourselves. We need to be critical thinkers. And speaking to somebody like you, they get to hear the other side. They get to hear, oh, Donald Trump's bad. But well, he's doing this because of this. And I appreciate you giving people that, what is the word I'm looking for? Opportunity to be able to understand some of the things that he's implementing and why. And I have to always say, well, maybe some of this isn't good, while some of it is. And people get a chance to be able to make these decisions for themselves by listening to us. So thank you for helping to give these people that opportunity. There was a business you wanted to talk about before we go, because I'm about to sign off here.
Yeah, I was gonna plug my own business as a consultant, Dion at nyconsultant singular.us. Dion at nyconsultant.us. Hit me up if you need. And I just hope your daughter doesn't come from school one day and say, Daddy, the teacher said Donald Trump cut our money and we can't have books because we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance in class. There you go, making it local.
All right. All right. That's it. Thank you for your time, Honorable Dion Powell. I hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you again. And this is LC.